What's shakin' bacons? Happy holidays. It is Christmas Eve and I'm filming this. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you're having a great holiday, whatever you're celebrating. I just got back from watching Star Wars Episode 9. All right. I figured I'd do a video and talk about it. I haven't been able to do a video in a long time. I am fully ugly Christmas sweatered out because it's the holiday. I have some wine. I'm ready to talk about this. I'm just going back old school, Warden, like the very first video I made that was a movie review, which was Episode 8. So, I've been on a break for a while. Probably still going to be on a break. If you want to hear more information about that or learn more about that, I did have a message I put up on my Patreon months ago, but I'll touch a bit on it at the end of this review. I don't know how long this is going to be. It's not going to be as in-depth as my other reviews. Let's talk about this movie. First of all, I have not read or seen any reviews on this film, so what I am giving to you here is my unfiltered opinion, having just left the movie. And that is that it is not bad. I feel almost the way I felt about this movie as I felt seeing Solo. Except I do think that the writing was better for this film than Solo's was. What I really came away with after seeing this movie is just how much Episode 8 really fucked up this series. I genuinely cannot fathom. It's still hard for me to believe just how badly The Last Jedi impacted Star Wars as a whole, and as the sequel trilogy and the shows and then Solo. Like, The Last Jedi really tanked a lot. And watching this movie, and this will be a non-spoiler review, watching this movie, you could see what the underlying story had been and what the direction had been intended to be when the trilogy was originally conceptualized. And when you start seeing those pieces of what it should have been and what it could have been, you can see it would have been a pretty decent trilogy. Would it have been as good as the original Star Wars trilogies? No. But it would have been a pretty decent trilogy. As it was, in this one, it felt like most of the movie was spent by JJ Abrams attempting to put what he would have put in the middle movie in this ending movie. And to a large extent, you can see how he did a better job, like even doing basic directing item things than Rian Johnson did. Like, in the course of this movie, I had reinvested in the characters again. The characters all seemed far more relatable to me. I re-engaged with their story trajectories, their plot lines. Like, I was hopeful for them. Some of the interactions and the relationships and some of the events that happened in this film actually got me to feel a little emotional. And I didn't want to see this movie. I'm just going to make that clear right now. I did not want to go see this movie. King Bacon wanted to see it. He was like, I need closure. I just want to see it and get it out of the way. So I went into this movie expecting nothing, because I've reached just such a sheer level of apathy with Star Wars, and I haven't seen The Mandalorian. I don't want to pay Disney Plus anything, so I didn't want to see this, and I am surprisingly happy with what they were able to provide with what they could do. I think that it would have been far better had it had a solid foundation to build on. Like I said, I think the pacing in the first part of it was just atrocious. It was incredibly fast and things were just hammered in. And really, if this movie had been split into two chunks, and if it had like a proper middle, and this was allowed to have a fleshed out solid ending, because some things were very short. There were those good depictions of turmoil such as you'd see in Revenge of the Sith, and then there was depictions of, you know, like, for example, this was in the trailer, so it's not spoiling anything, Rey training, which could have been fleshed out a lot more. And a lot of it that felt shoehorned in, like those things, were very obviously JJ Abrams attempting to show what should have been shown the prior movie. And one thing that I particularly enjoyed was it almost felt to me throughout this film like he was taking subtle digs at Rian Johnson. There was a lot that he kind of symbolically reversed in this movie that, again, I won't touch on since I don't want to give any spoilers, but it seemed as though he was kind of like, so here's how it should have been, and then largely ignored the rest of what happened in The Last Jedi, which I think is the only good thing to do. Part of me, whenever I think about that movie, because I've only seen it once and I've refused to see it any more times, part of me thinks maybe it's not as bad as I originally thought it was, and then I will rewatch a review on it and I'll see clips from it, and I'll go see, like, I just saw The Rise of Skywalker, and I realized the extent of how poor Rian Johnson's directing was, how poor his story was, how terribly he must have directed the actors. The actors did not do a good job in The Last Jedi, for the most part. They actually did, all of them, a great job in The Rise of Skywalker. And that's all directing, man. Like, that's not, I mean, you can have an actor who has a lot of skill, but if their director is telling them they have to do this a certain way, or they have to act or look or behave in a certain way to fit the director's vision of how the film is coming together, there's not a whole lot that actor can do. And you can really, really tell. And I'm not saying JJ Abrams is perfect. Do not misread what I'm saying as that. But you can really see how terrible Rian Johnson is with every single facet of how he handled The Last Jedi compared to this movie. Because the acting was actually very good. Rose got sidelined to the background. Her hair was fixed so she didn't look like that stupid anime girl hairstyle that she had. Not that there's a problem with Rose, and it is not the actress's fault. I just want to make that clear. But JJ Abrams was like, okay, this random character, we're going to put you to the side. Even the space pony scene that you see in the trailer was not horrible, and it almost felt like JJ Abrams looked at Rian Johnson and was like, you want to see how to do like a space pony race correctly, buddy? Like, here's how. Granted, it was a cheesy scene, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it was way better than Rian Johnson's Cantina World bullshit. Just, I mean, the music was on point, like the story and what happened and the interactions that the characters have felt like Star Wars. And there was a couple pet theories of mine that I really loved, such as Rey's heritage, that actually happened. And you could just see, like, it was a theory that I loved. Let me clarify this, because I know some of you are like, you loved that? Let me clarify this. It was a theory I loved. The movie did not, the whole movie, not just one of these scenes, I felt like I could just see where they were trying to go with it. Like, it could have been great. And I could feel and see, like, glimpses of this could have been a really intriguing story. It wouldn't have been a stupendous story, don't get me wrong, but you could see it would have been incredibly interesting, except it fell flat because of the fact that the middle, it had nothing to stand on. You know, like, the middle's supposed to be really like the beef of, like, if you're thinking about a hamburger, the middle is the meat or the protein of the meal. And in this case, the middle was really more like the radish that was made, like a beet radish that a hipster restaurant dreamed up that nobody wants on their burger, that nobody asked for. And it just ruins the rest of the dish. So I would say that if you want to go see this movie and you walk in with like zero expectations and complete apathy, like I did, you will probably be pleasantly surprised. It is nowhere near the realm of being as bad as The Last Jedi was. And really, this just makes me continue to be so angry at The Last Jedi because, again, you can see where it would have gone. And there was some really interesting stuff in this film. Like, they showed some more Jedi powers. We actually got some Star Wars. I actually went to see it in 3D. I had never seen a Star Wars film in 3D. And I told King Bacon, I was like, I want to at least see one Star Wars in 3D. Because even if I'm not happy with the plot, you know that the CGI is going to be great. And I want to be able to appreciate modern 3D with this movie. And I will definitely say it's worth it. Usually in 3D, my eyes kind of jump around. I have a hard time watching it. But they did a really good job on it with this movie. And it more enhanced like depth of field and perspective. And sort of lent itself more to establishing the gravitas in certain scenes than anything else. And some of the jokes don't land in this movie. Like, not all the humor works, but it's way toned down from what it was. And I think that that's a good thing. Some things were inadvertently really funny to me. Like there's a lot of yeeting, if you will, in this film. And every time somebody would throw something, I just couldn't help myself. And I was like, yeet! So it's like, there's some inadvertently funny points. But really, if you don't go into this with really any expectations, it's not a bad movie. It's definitely better than Solo was. And I ran it through, I was curious. I ran it through my movie rating scale just for giggles, and it ended up getting a rating of 68% from me. So it was pretty inconsistent. There was some like story threads in this film that didn't get resolved, but again, they tried to cram 2 movies into the final movie, and I think they did a good job considering what they have. And if you're rewatching Star Wars, you can watch episode 7 and go right to episode 9, and it will genuinely not feel like you missed anything. Other than the fact that you're like, oh, Snoke? What happened to Snoke? But then somebody could say, oh, that was in the comics and you just didn't see it, or that was in that book that released a few months ago. And then you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's almost like episode 8 did not happen at all, other than Luke's death and Snoke's death. And I think that's a really good thing. Like, they did a good job of just going, we're just going to slide through and pretend that didn't happen. All right? Please forgive us. I still can't believe anybody let that movie out of the production house. I really can't. King Bacon and I were talking on the way home from the movie, and we were both like, yeah, that movie has probably cost Disney far more than it would have cost them to just swallow the amount of money they had initially put into it with Rian Johnson and just redo that film. Like that, I think that is how much money they will probably lose from that movie. Because I still can't. Anyway, this is supposed to be a Rise of Skywalker review, and I keep talking about The Last Jedi, but I feel like it's integral. There are some ridiculous things. If I was to sit here and nitpick this movie, I mean, you're going to have problems. Like I said, they dropped a couple story threads, even within the movie. Like, there's one story thread they hype up about, this isn't really a spoiler, they hype about Finn telling Rey something, and then he never tells her what it is, and then he never tells anybody else what he was supposed to tell her. And it's just a dropped story thread, and I think it's just because they had so much that they were trying to cram in there. And so in some cases, the pacing is hyper accelerated, and there's some justifications that they had to make for things that happened in The Last Jedi. But overall, I really liked the inclusion of, there was a lot more aliens. We got to see different worlds and scenarios, and we got to see different facets of life in like a smart Star Wars way, and not just like a preachy cantina inclusive type way. And I think they did a really good job with that aspect of it. So is it a great movie? No. I mean, it's not. Is it better than episode 7? I actually think it is. Is it better than episode 8? That's like not even a question almost. It's like for sure better than episode 8. So like I said, I think I gave it like a 68%. I'm just peeking up at my movie rating scale. So anyway, yeah, that's how I feel about this. I haven't seen The Mandalorian yet. I haven't had a chance to watch it. So I guess to wrap up the review, if you want to see it, I think you should. It's better than the last 2 in this trilogy. It's not terrible. It's not great. You get to see some more of the back lore and the Sith and things like that. Like I said, it's not like gonna be a classic movie, but it's better than the other 2 in this sequel trilogy. So it was decent. I'm actually surprisingly not mad at it, considering what had to be done to try and salvage this entire thing. Like, it could have been way worse, and I was genuinely expecting it to be way worse. So I ain't mad. It is what it is, you know? At this point, I'm largely apathetic. And I will say this, at least this sequel trilogy has not just completely stopped me from ever wanting to rewatch or replay or reread anything Star Wars ever again. Unlike the Game of Thrones ending, which has made me never want to rewatch Game of Thrones ever again. And I mean ever. So I have to say, at least I still love Star Wars. And I'm just going to pretend that The Last Jedi is non-canon. So go see it if you're interested. It's not absolutely awful. It's not going to ruin Star Wars like The Last Jedi did. They made some strong efforts, and Carrie Fisher was actually handled, I think, pretty tastefully. So it is what it is. 68%, kind of higher than I thought, to be honest, but that's the movie rating scale. So let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments. And to touch base on what I mentioned at the beginning, as you've probably noticed, or maybe you haven't noticed, I haven't posted for a long time. My full-time job, as I mentioned multiple times previously, has just continued to accelerate. And there are weeks where I work up to like 60 hours. I've been traveling for work a lot, and my schedule being what it is and having some health issues that are ongoing, I just do not have the time to actually go to the movies on a regular basis and then sit down and do a video and then edit the video. So like I'm doing this one take, I'll probably just upload it as it is. So it's not that I don't want to do YouTube anymore. It's just that I literally don't have the time in my life anymore, because YouTube, unlike, you know, a lot of YouTubers will make a lot of money doing this. I value all of you guys and your support, but I don't have millions of views that would help me make this a full-time thing. And even with the support from my amazing supporters on Patreon, which I've paused for a while, it's just not feasible for me. Like, I have to do my full-time job so I can pay for my medical, you know, my health issues, and for my husband's health issues. So as much as I want to do this on a regular basis, I just can't. So I'll pop in now and then to do a review on something big like this. I was like, I can't not talk about this to you guys. And maybe I'll think about giving you my thoughts on The Mandalorian. But I don't know. The problem is I don't know if I'll have the time, is really what it is. So that's why you haven't heard from me in a while. I just, at the end of the day, when I get home from work, or if I get back from traveling for work, it's just late enough that I don't have the time. And it is what it is. I'm sure a lot of you can empathize with that. So the other part of it is, I will say I have been so much less stressed not trying to shoehorn this in. And I like doing this when it's not a stressful thing, but YouTube does not make it easy. And I think it's good that there's a place where people can upload, and like I can upload this and share this with you guys. And, you know, there are some people that have the chance to earn an income doing this, and I think that's great. But with that said, YouTube honestly is like, it's almost like a dumpster fire right now, to be quite honest. And I'll scroll through, those of you who are early subscribers, you may remember me talking about how I use an RSS feed to get my YouTube subscriptions, because I don't trust the YouTube notification system. And I'll scroll through my RSS feed, and every single thumbnail from every YouTuber I follow, whether it is in the tech genre or the movie genre or some of the vlog genres or the beauty genres, or everything that I watch, like every thumbnail looks the same now. Like all the titles look the same, all the thumbnails look the same, and all of the topics are on these weird, like it's so homogenous, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because YouTube has sanitized their platform so much to try and make it advertiser friendly, and they got hit with this COPPA thing. So they're like, you have to be family friendly because they want to advertise to kids and families. And now legally they can't. And so now they're like, what are you supposed to target your videos to? 15-year-olds? So every video that's been coming out has looked exactly the same. And I just, thinking about that and then watching these YouTubers go through all this stress, I'm like, I'm really glad that I am not worrying about this right now. So it's been a lot of stress that is off my shoulders, which makes room for more stress from my full-time job. So hey, if you guys ever have questions about data, feel free to ask me, because for those of you who don't know, I'm a data scientist, and that field is only continuing to grow, which is why I work such long hours. So it's exhausting, but it's fun. I really do love my job, and I do miss doing this. I miss talking to you guys. I really do. So, but it is what it is. So I'll try and pop on and make videos here and there. But for now, you know, it's gonna be here and there. It's not gonna be regular for a while. So anyway, I hope you're all having an awesome holiday season, whatever it is you celebrate, or even if you don't celebrate anything, I hope you're just having a great season in general. And I guess I'll catch you later, Bacons.